All right. Hello. Good morning. Oh, am I up in the? No, it's okay. So, oh, maybe it's a little bit. Is it a bit loud? No, I think we're okay. Yeah. So, good morning. I thought we could start today by looking at a PR. So, related to the work we've been looking at with latest version of React States. Is kind of, that's the way I approach refactors, is that I often do like little experiments, and if I have an opportunity to refactor something smaller first to kind of explore and learn, I do that. And I have a couple of apps running the latest version of React States, the Excalidraw Firebase thing, and also the family Scrum thing I showed you, which is done, the refactor there. Yeah, so I discovered like an approach to us moving towards the latest version on CodeSandbox Projects. And this is the first step, where we basically, we're just moving this features folder, which was kind of its own package. And we're moving that in with the rest of the application. So that is this PR, and I thought I could show you how this works. So what's kind of cool is that when you're using CodeSandbox Projects, you actually get this link on PRs. So you can like super easily just open. So if I want to take a look at this, I can just click it and I open it, and now it's running that branch. And I can make changes to it and do whatever I want. I can check it, and it's super, super nice. And I can open it directly in VS Code as well. Which is like, that's freaking epic. I'm used to it now, but that's amazing. And Alex here had some I think we can remove the CodeGen folder. Okay. Oh, feature. Yeah, what is this CodeGen? Okay, let's try. Let's delete it. Oh. Yeah, and the reason we're using an old version of strip.json comments is Jest. You have to start supporting modules like ESM. I know it's behind an experiment flag, but I find it curious that it doesn't support it yet. And then yeah, some dependencies. Yeah, and this is like the next step we're gonna fix. Maybe we can work on that today. Yeah, let's do that. And then we can get back to the other refactor with the router and stuff later. Yeah, import paths in environment API browser. So this would be in applications, environment API browser. So here we have some old so features should be replaced by features. Like that. What else did we have? Let's do a thumbs up there. Yeah, and the same for language client, language manager. This is inside our Monaco editor. Where was it? Inside language client. In here? Yeah. Was it only the language manager? Yeah. Cool. And then we have, yeah, and I thought I did that. So in CodeSandbox, when you're running it here, you actually get an overview of all the tasks. Yeah, I think, yeah, Alex probably just missed it because I did remove the watcher for the features package. And let's see. So that should be good. And now we can go in here. Do we actually remove all that stuff? Was all of this in CodeGen? Do we have the full path? Yeah, we're making some updates to this. But it's interesting. Did the CodeGen thing have... Yeah, must have been. Clean up, commit and push. Oops. Oh, that's interesting. What the hell are these files? Oh, I just discovered something we're not supporting here. Yeah, it's just that it... this kind of... That's kind of weird. I thought the fix we did here for paths actually worked. Okay, so... I think we need to bring up a terminal and do some manual stuff here. Yeah, look at this. Okay. Yeah, maybe we should report that. Linear enable bug report weird path, and then we have the enable to commit weird paths or commit path with white space, I believe. Let's make take a screenshot of that other thing. So we can see that as well. Weird though, because I fixed... I believe we quote all paths. So like when you... Yeah, hello, in LA. Good evening. Yeah, because I was working on this, like the paths, because we do like a git add, of course, under the hood. And we add the paths using quotes. So I thought that should work. Should be able to add these or stage these files. Make a change to a file with white space. Try to commit. Okay, so let's triage that, save issue, and let's just do this manually for now. Git commit. What we're doing, clean up. Boop. 10 past midnight. Yeah. What are you doing in... Oh, Siggy, that's nice. Yeah, Siggy. What are you doing in LA, Siggy? Vacation or work or... Let's see. Okay, so we'll have to wait for this thing to go green and then we'll merge it and then we can take the next step. So while we're waiting for that, maybe we can work a little bit on this other thing. Because what we wanted to do here is we wanted to create a new, we have features, pages. So what we wanted here is we wanted a new component that actually was responsible for this new oh, that's nice. LA vacation. Just a couple of weeks over Easter. Yeah, that sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. It's actually pretty nice over here in Norway now. Can you see that? It's like the sun actually brought the kids to kindergarten today without my jacket on, which is like a huge deal. And just like downstairs we have like a porch in front with a pretty large porch. And it has like fences and stuff, so we can just open the porch door and then the kids can like run in and out without us worrying about it. And it's just a completely different kind of environment. It's amazing. And it makes you question why the hell did we decide to live here? Because half of the year it's a lot of clothes, staying inside most of the time, not socializing with other people. Well, we did have Corona, but it's just too much of a hassle to have small kids and get out of the house in the winter. So yeah, and for me it's like I'm from the south of Norway, and there's like an additional month up here with like shitty weather, so I actually get a bit depressed. Like not clinically depressed, but I get in a really bad mood the last month of winter. But then it tastes so good when the spring comes. So yeah, I started a company. Yeah, it's important to take time off, especially like that's a good thing about CodeSandbox. We're very aware of like a lot of companies, they like track velocity and they kind of see employees as resources, and it's about getting stuff out the door. It's like you create the company to build a product, like that's the thing, and the most efficient way to do that, that's like then the company is successful. But other people start companies because they actually want to create an environment for people so that like the company itself becomes a product for the employees, where they try to create like a nice interface to interact with each other and the company, and they feel that they do good work and they're not stressed, and productivity is something that is more of an intuition than hard numbers. So like if someone's sick or just having a bad day or doesn't feel productive, it's like at CodeSandbox it's like people encourage you to just take some time off, half a day, a couple of hours, 2 days, like it doesn't matter. The important thing is that you feel good when you do work, and from that productivity, you get productivity, which is a really nice way to think about work. And you can argue that maybe with that perspective you don't have the same velocity as at a company where it's all about the product, and everybody's tracked and pushed to spend as many hours as possible at work. But I'm very confident they aren't as happy or feel as good. because I have to remember, like, when you building companies is not about, like, we often think about building products and working at companies is like purpose, but like if you go like from a bigger perspective, it's really about like the company and the product will disappear at some point. And the only thing that really matters is how you invest in the future of like humankind. One thing is like having kids and giving them a good upbringing so they can like bring their values and make an impact with other people and basically make the world a better place. But also your own interactions outside of work is super, super important. And if you're stressed out about work, you're not making a good investment for the future of humankind. And that's the thing. I reflected a lot on this after having kids. It's like it's amazing to me that even in Norway, where there are a lot of flexibility around kids and fraternity and maternity leave and all that stuff, it's still not enough. Like, people having kids aren't able to combine it with the expectations from work, and they get super stressed out. Half of I think like 70% of people getting a divorce, they have kids under the age of 5 or 6 or something. And like, my theory is that it's because of stress. Like, the society isn't built to have small kids and work. Like, 2 parents working, having small kids, it's super stressful. And I wonder why we don't like see that as a like, yeah, why don't we I guess it's like it's the numbers again. There's no intuition that staying home with kids, for example, like my partner is staying home now for a year because having one kid going to school, how will she deal with that? And then having the new one, a year old at kindergarten, how will he deal with that? And just getting both of them out the door this first half year, and then after summer it will change because one of them is going to school and the other one is going to kindergarten. If both of us were working this year, I have no idea what the state of our relationship and would be at the end of this. So yeah, I feel like we kind of saved the well, that's the rough, like, save the relationship. I guess we would have pushed through, but it wouldn't be, it's stressful enough even having one person at home. It's crazy. Yeah. So what I mean to say is, like, I wish society acknowledged more being in the state of being parents, having this expectation that both should work. It's not valued that you choose to stay home. Like, my partner was even scared to do that because you kind of jump out of society. So if something would happen to her this year, like she wouldn't be able to go back to work, she would be pretty much fucked, which is insane to think about. She chose to stay home to invest in the family and the kids so they can have the best possible start in their life, and it's not being valued at all by society. So I guess that's the thing. Even though we have a lot of benefits and fraternity and maternity leave and so on, choosing to stay home with your kids, there's no value in that from the perspective of the society, which is insane to me. Anyways, we're getting way out of hand here. Okay. Yeah, so we didn't get to the other thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did some streaming during, yeah, so like the first, when was he born? Yeah, so it was like when he first started kindergarten, we were both working. yeah, and that was really rough. Like suddenly having 2 kids, and it's winter, and it's a lot of stress and that stuff. And also my partner was working at a startup, which kind of consumed her quite a bit. As I can totally relate to. So that was pretty rough. But yeah, like, is things better now? It's like, the thing is, like, I don't know how it would be like if she wasn't home right now. But I can, like, imagine. So it doesn't mean like it solves everything that she's home, because she's not home to just be home and like fix the house and deal with the kids. Like, we're still doing that, like 50-50, or at least when I say 50-50, it's in my mind it's 50-50, but it's probably more like 70-30, 80-20, just because she has an upbringing where she takes a lot more responsibility than I do. But there are benefits to my personality as well. We can go into that some other time. But yeah, so she's doing other stuff as well. She wants to figure out if there's something she can do when she gets back to work. Like, she wants to do that on her own terms. She's learned a lot having different jobs, and she really cares about like how things are going with industry, just taking over how we consume food and everything. And she's trying to find a way to use that enthusiasm around kind of pushing back against that trend. But she has to find a way to do that is fun and not too consuming, because we still have 2 small kids. Yeah, so she's been exploring a few different things. Actually, now we live in this place where we have it's quite big. It's like 200 families or something living in I don't know the English word for it. It's called boligbyggelag in Norwegian. I think. No, maybe that's not. It doesn't matter. But the thing is, like, it's super nice living here. Like, we have a big playground in the middle of here, and multiple playgrounds around here. But the thing is, like, the whole thing here is like they have a Facebook group, and like there's organized stuff with parents and kids and everything. It's like a small community. And one thing my partner is really good at is food, and she has a lot of good tricks to make our kids eat healthy. And one of the main things she does is she puts a lot of shit in the pancakes. Good shit, healthy stuff. And I'm trying to push her to like scope it down. What's the minimal thing you can do to do something on your own? So now she's just going to make like pancake, not actually make the pancakes, but the thing that makes the pancakes. You have to mix it together. Yeah, pancake mix, I guess. With different versions of that. That's been a success here. And then she's just going to put it all into like these small containers that you can freeze and then sell them to the neighbors, just using that Facebook group and say that, hey, you want some pancake mix that's healthy for your kids, and then just try that. And then she can just walk over to the other side and bring it to them on the door, and then take the box back with the pancake mix, then wash it and then reuse it and stuff like that. And maybe that's the start of something. I don't know. It's kind of how we do when you have big ideas, is try to like scope it down to the most minimal thing you can do and then learn from there. Anyways, so that's kind of fun to be able to do that. So that's what kind of this year was about. It was making sure that we take care of our kids in this big transition for both of them, and then also for my partner to have a chance to reflect on what she actually wants to like spend her time on. Yeah, so that's really happy about that decision. And yeah, but we fight still, and it's stressful, and I get upset, I get tired, and with small kids you're sick half of the year, and that doesn't make things better. And we had a lot of like the tiny one hasn't slept very well, and like nobody operates at their best capacity when they don't have enough sleep. So but yeah, it would be way worse if my partner didn't take this year. Yeah. Yeah, but this is nice. I don't know, like this is the thing about this stream. I don't like, it's more for me for me than anyone else. So if I feel like talking about my partner's endeavor, pancakes endeavor, I'll talk about that. And then we have enough time to code isn't that important. Anyways, let's see. Okay, so let's just make sure that this actually runs now. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, this was slow. Is it slow because of... Oh, there we are. Yeah, this is running on stream, so it's not as optimized. Okay, so like the refactor I did now was just moving files around. So if there was a bad import or something like that, it would like instantly yell. So when it runs, it runs. So I'm happy about this. So I'm going to merge it, and then I'm going to tell people that we merged this. Well, I'm going to avoid Slack. I have a tendency to move into Slack, so I'll give that message later. But what we can do now, we can now go here, we can bring up the command palette, and we can fork from main. So now we're creating a new branch off of the latest main, which should now contain our refactor. Almost. This is interesting. Yeah, maybe I can talk a little bit about how CodeSandbox Projects works. So what happened now is that I forked from main. When we call it fork because it's what we call it in V1, but it's actually branching. It's been a whole long discussion about that naming. But what happened now is that we have some really smart logic under the hood, which means that what happened now is that I actually got like what's it called? Kind of like a replica of the file system of the main branch, but also the memory of it, which is kind of crazy. We're using a technology for that called Firecracker. And what happened now is that that main branch hadn't pulled down the latest change yet. So that's why it was pulled down here instead. But at least now we have it, which is great. So the next step of this refactor, let's do that in VS Code. The next step is that we want to go in here, and we are going to actually bring in the latest React states. And what we need to do is that since we're using React states already, CodeSandbox states, we have to use, so we have a copy of React states inside this repo. So I basically just need to bring in the latest version of the code there. Did we call it React CodeSandbox states? Yes. Okay. So we are going to do that first. Let's just use GitHub for this. For some reason my muscle memory is going to GitHub still. Well, we can more easily actually do it here. So we have React states, and we can go on the next branch. Yeah, it's I really like MobX. It's yeah, like React has matured a lot in terms of state management. Like the hooks really does improve things, and you can also argue that if you know React, then you like there's two things. Like you can have a framework which has a lot of opinions, and then if someone joins you, they have to learn that framework to understand those opinions. Or you can go a bit lower level, like just use the primitives of React and have your own patterns. That means that the person doesn't need to like learn a framework because they know how React works, hopefully. But it's more just adjusting to the patterns that's been decided for the project, which is a lower threshold, arguably. And yeah, it's really cool to see how far React has gotten with hooks and context providers and stuff like that. It's more just having some good opinions around it. Of course, React does have a lot of quirks to it. That you can't really expect everyone to understand and know about. Like everything from like how hooks does these closures, how the dependency of like use effect in terms of references to objects and immutability and all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff happening that you can't really see by reading the code. That can cause issues, which you avoid if you use something like MobX. But of course MobX has its own quirks as well. But yeah, I really enjoy working with React and hooks, even though it's like an insane concept. Just like use state, you give it the initial value and you know that component function will run again and again and again, but only the first time the use state is being called with initial state, that state is actually being used. Like it's now we're used to it, but it's insane. It's just an insane concept. And I think they spent a lot of time to figure out how to sell that idea. But you kind of see how powerful it is as well. And I think there's a lot more to come that takes benefits of that approach. But yeah, so the thing that made me think about state machines is that I remember being introduced to it by David, the creator of XState, and he has a lot of presentations, but they're very unrelatable. It's not like why do I want to use it? You can talk about the theory and what it's been used for in other contexts, but to me it's always been this. It's just been about the state property. Like it's a bad thing if you're using isLoading. You shouldn't do that. So for me personally, I haven't gotten what David has been trying to say, but it has intrigued me. Like it's inspired me to try to figure it out on my own. It was the same with immutability. I remember a talk from Facebook about the immutability is awesome. I didn't understand that, but like exploring it on my own, then I've discovered the benefits of it. And it's the same here. And I totally agree. Like X8 is this massive library with a lot of academic terms. There is this core concept, which I personally call explicit states. That it's so simple. It's a reducer, but instead of the outside dispatching an action and the reducer always dealing with that action, meaning that the reducer is at the mercy of the outside, it's the reducer who decides if the action is valid, depending on its own state. And I talked to a colleague. Hi, Ace, by the way. And I talked to a colleague who said to me, like, even he doesn't use React states, but he uses explicit states. So he always types his reducer having these explicit states. Like, you have a property called state, it has like a label, and then there are some properties related to that specific state. And it's such a good way to model complex state, because you avoid typing issues and so on and so on. I'm working on something else now that also doesn't use React states. It just uses the concept of explicit states. And maybe that's something that's worth like a presentation in itself. Like, forget about guarding side effects and stuff. Just how do you describe the state in your reducer? You can do it with implicit states, where you basically just type one single object with a bunch of values that are there or not. Or you can have a typing, which is like a union of, in this state it looks like this, in this state it looks like this, and in this state it looks like this. Yeah, exactly, the traffic lights. Yeah, I didn't resonate with me. Yeah, maybe I should create a couple of videos just the core concepts that's not like related to any library, but just how you can type your state in a way that avoids, as you say, Siggy, like avoid those if checks all over the place. And also this environment interface thingy is also a really interesting concept. That's like very basic. It doesn't need a library at all. Where were we? Oh, yes, we need to copy over some code. Let's see. Because this version is running on an old one. And I think I made some changes to the dev tools. So the resizer. Let's just shove it in there and hopefully it will work. Manager probably did some changes there. Probably something here. It doesn't matter. Like, the most important thing is what's in here, because I won't really be running the dev tools even. Yeah, we don't care about that. Okay, so let's try to yarn this thing, because I added it as a dependency to hopefully let's see. Yeah, because I added CodeSandbox states as a dependency to the applications. And basically what we're going to do is that we're going to expose the environment using the new API. That's the only thing that this step is going to do. And when that's done, we can do the third step, which I intend to try to flip these features over to the latest version. Yeah, I can talk about that later. Let's see. Oh, I hope we are able to, like, the one thing that that slows down things. Like it doesn't matter if you're local or in the cloud, it's npm packages. It's just so insanely slow to install stuff. I wonder if we can find a way to solve that. I know there are like other solutions than Yarn, like PM and stuff, which makes it faster, but there seems to be like something fundamental to how it's being used. I don't know. And with the cache and everything, it's like crazy. Anyways, okay, so now we have we should be able to we have the environment here. Now the thing is, we are going to split this up. So we're actually going to have a new folder called environment interface. So we're going to split the typing from the implementation. So all of this stuff, we can copy it for now. Environment interface, where did you go? There you are. Index.ts. And yeah, we're not going to use any React in here because this is just typing. And what we're going to do is that we're going to define environment. That's what we're going to use. And we're supposed to import that from CodeSandbox states. Define. Oh, isn't it? Ah, can't find it. Why can't you find it? I made you a dependency. Maybe I have to build it. Permission denied. That's interesting. What? What? Why aren't I allowed to do that? Okay, that's a blocker. Why the hell don't I have permission? I think maybe sudo. Wait a minute. What's happening here? Oh, I'm still not back in business. Sudo. What was the thing here? Picture host yarn build. Oh. Command failed. Fudge. We're blocked by this. I have to build it. Why can't I build it? Where did I... Is this where... Yeah, this is the one we're working on. Mountain. Yeah. Let's try to do it from here. This is weird. This is also a bug. Yeah, we are in beta, so... No, permission denied. Damn it. Dag nugget. Yeah, Dan, I totally agree with it's interesting you point out like separation of UI and state, and I I'm very like I've always, even from like the beginning of Cerebral, that was kind of the driver for me, and it still is. I guess it's more of a question of where do you create the boundaries. So do you have like so with Cerebral and MobX? Well, MobX is kind of in between, I guess. But yeah, with Cerebral and Overmind, you have a very like, you're kind of putting the boundary between Overmind, Cerebral, and React itself, as like React is only UI, and then you have something else for state management, which is definitely fair. But you could also, within React, you could like create the boundaries as well. Like I remember this pattern of like container components and UI components, which I'm not a huge fan of that. But most interesting about these hooks is that you can create a boundary of state management and UI between hooks and components. So, which we'll see later in this refactor as well, is that you have your components as UI components, and whenever you want to do state management, you don't do it directly in the component necessarily. But you create a hook next to it, and that's the boundary, and then you use that custom hook for the state management, and that hook can do everything from defining a reducer to running side effects and whatever you want, but you never mix them with the UI expression in the UI component. It's not as clear separation, of course, but it's still a separation. Yeah, but yeah, that's kind of my point. I totally agree with the boundary. It's just a question of where should the boundary be. Yeah, I think the owner is the picture host, which I thought I could do something like this: picture host yarn build. But for some reason I can't do that. I have to ask DevOps about this. Yeah, we're in beta. This stuff happens. Or could we? Oh, what happened there? Yeah. No, I'll play around with this later. No test for all using the same override action. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's kind of the good thing about like having like separating the state management from, in this case, React, is that you can like reuse it across yeah, you can separate it much more easily. Though that's kind of, I guess that's what we're exploring with CodeSandbox projects using React states, is that you actually achieve the same thing in the sense that these hooks that you use, you can use them across React Native and the browser and the test environment. You can like test these hooks in isolation even. And the reason they work is not because they are necessarily hooks. It's the way they interact with the environment. So just like Cerebral and Overmind has like a first-class concept of side effects, where you define like how to interact with the environment at like a layer on top. And then in the case of Overmind, using the actions, they don't really interact directly with the browser API or NPM packages and stuff. They use this effects API. And that's actually part of React states as well. It's kind of like you're mounting the application into an environment. And then these hooks are actually consuming an environment hook. Well, now I'm kind of diving into it. All the details here without much preparation, but that's the thing, like everything you point out, Dan, I completely agree with. So it's kind of how can we embrace and keep these boundaries and separations of concern, but in the world of React still. because that was kind of the big decision for us building CodeSandbox Projects was, did we want to use a library that people, which will make it harder to hire, because they don't, like, people, a lot of people know React and the fundamentals of React, but not a lot of people know whatever library we would have decided to use. So it was kind of like, okay, the decision is we are going to embrace React, but we have to make React work with the principles we're discussing here. So that's why React States came about, really. It keeps those principles, but it's not as clear as having like a very specific library with like first-class concepts for this stuff. But I think as we've been exploring this, we will be able to like emphasize how it works related to these principles, but it's just not as clear. But yeah, I'm going to talk a ton more about that, and it's really nice that you bring it up, because I haven't really reflected on that. That like this driving force of cerebral and overmind, and having these separations of concern and so on. That those are still the drivers of this. And like using React States, people have asked like, where does this environment interface fit in with this? Like, isn't it about these explicit states? Why is this environment interface here? And the point is like, yeah, it is about these explicit states, but if you do this environment interface, then we like embrace this separation of concern, where you can mount your application in any environment, a browser, React Native, testing, and you can just run it. You don't have to worry about consuming APIs for a specific environment directly. Anyways, yeah, maybe we should just stop here. We won't be able to we have to do something new, and we don't really have time to do something new. So we could stop here, and I'll get some help to fix this permission thing. And I'm going to finish this tiny refactor here, but maybe next time we can rather talk about finishing the other one, the other refactor. Yeah, and we should be able to finish that during the stream, because we got the router in place, which kind of diverged us a little bit. And then yeah, but what I hope to do is like what we did now, we dive more into CodeSandbox Projects code, and I really want to do that more, especially now that we're talking about like React States and what does it do and so on, and we need to do some internal refactoring ourselves, that we can just do that on the stream. That's nice. Yeah, cool. Time to get to bed, Siggy. And thanks for joining, Dan. Yeah, it's a really interesting discussion, and I sometimes I look back at some presentations I've had. Like I had one presentation on Overmind, where we only used Overmind DevTools to build like a to-do application, and it's like and it wasn't like to say that this is how you should develop applications. It was just, it's actually possible to do it, and how does that look like? And it was really cool to kind of code all the logic and the state, and you just see the dev tools updating, and you can explore it, and you can test actions and everything without ever firing up the browser, which is really cool. Yeah, maybe I can share that video on, I think I have it. Yeah, if you Christian do I still have my webpage? Yeah, this one.
Quick message for React Engine.
Oh, anyways, yeah, this Oslo.js meetup, UI as an implementation detail. It's yeah, it's kind of cool. It's just very different, but it really embraces what we just talked about there. So that's kind of cool. Anyways, yeah. Talk tomorrow. Bye for now.